Welcome back, everybody, to Barbershop Talk. This is the first of 2024, the first of the 2024 NBA season. About midway through January, we are approaching we're somewhat approaching the trade deadline. It'll be here before you know it. And right as we're getting near Indiana All-Star break, which apparently I will be attending, it's very allegedly right now, we have a trade involving the Indiana Pacers, one that wasn't really a well-kept secret. We know they've been trying to get this deal done. Indiana had thrown their hat in the mix for OG Anunoby as well. Hell, they threw it in for OG and Pascal. They just didn't have enough to get that deal done, or they weren't willing to get that deal done. They did get this one though. Pascal Siakam, 29 years old, has finally moved on from the Toronto Raptors. We knew he wasn't re-signing there. Toronto has been on that list of teams which needed to make deals, you know what? They are really far past needing to make this deal. Actually, this is a team that won the championship in 2019. And I don't know, I just felt like the organization never quite let go that glory year. What happened in Kawhi Leonard leaving that same summer? They still had the core. They were still semi-contending in 2020. There was some belief that they could still play with the best without Kawhi. Of course, they ended up going out in the bubble to the Celtics at that point. And I just kind of always, you see them slowly dismantling. They finally lose Fred VanVleet, just slowly losing these guys, the support pieces, the stars. You're just going, man, this could have kind of been done all in one swoop. They were never going to land any of these guys, and even if they did, they were never going to land the player that took them back to the promised land. When we heard their name involved with Damian Lillard and whoever else, right? There was just never one guy they were going to put on top of what they had. Matter of fact, you couldn't even just put it on top of what you had. You had to make trades. So they were never going to trade for a guy that was going to move them back near the top of the East. Never understood why they seem to have been holding on to that. Either way, OG traded to the Knicks. I think that is a deal that worked out for both sides. And now we have Pascal Siakam with Tyrese Haliburton in Indiana. What are we thinking? First, I'm just really applauding the Pacers for trying to get out early and prove things to Tyrese, prove that they are an organization believing they can build something around him, not just kind of letting him sit out with an average team for as long as possible and then one day he gets tired. It's just a story that happens with almost any star player. No matter how much money they've signed for, no matter how many years they've signed for, you spend too long in stagnation, the story just keeps repeating itself. So if you're Indy, you realize what you've got in Tyrese. You've got a very special player, you got a very special point guard. It's time to start really building something around him, which I felt like in the summer they had taken those steps when they had a very successful free agency. And ironically, part of that was going out to get Bruce Brown. I think this was a playoff team last year before Haliburton got hurt. Obviously, they are a playoff team this year. He is again hurt, but it doesn't seem like it's going to cost him much more than, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, he'll be back, and they are a good bit above 500 right now. They're surviving life without him. They are ready to take that step into the playoffs. It should happen this year. And that's where I applaud the front office and going, we're not just going to live with that. We're not just going to live with a playoff berth that could have happened last year. Let's see how far we can push it. You get a guy in Pascal who apparently wants to go ahead and start talking about a deal to stay long term, because as just mentioned was a thing. Raptors were going to lose him for nothing. You're always in a situation where you have to trade a guy with that. And they kind of have to like where they're going, or at least show a willingness to like where they're going so they can work out a deal there. It appears that will be a thing at the moment. Being Indy, you're looking at that and going, hey, we've got some building blocks here. Going forward, hopefully you've got a decent duo. You'll get to see how far they can go this year, and you go into the summer and look at how you can make the roster better. Which, speaking of, they kept a lot of pieces here that will give them mobility going forward. You didn't trade Buddy Hield in this deal. You didn't have to give up Nembhard. You didn't have to give up a lot of names you would have probably expected. As a matter of fact, if I hadn't recapped the deal beforehand, this was Bruce Brown, Jordan Nwora, and 3 first-round picks. The Pelicans were also involved. They sent Kierra Lewis to the Raptors. I would, just looking at where Indiana has been up to this point, I would consider that minimal damage. I felt like in going and getting Bruce Brown in the summer, you were looking at versatility and some defense. You get to where you are today, that is literally the Pacers' problem. They're a great offensive team. The defensive side, I don't know if I would call it a lost cause. It's just not where you might have thought coming into the season. So being that was one of Bruce Brown's functions, I think the results have made him a bit expendable, or they obviously did. In a deal like this, when you can get an all-star level talent back, where do I think that places them for this season? It's a question I've gotten on Twitter. I would still say where I had Indiana before coming into the playoffs. It's actually kind of circumstantial. So they're the back half of the East right now, 6th seed. That puts them against one of the top teams in the East in the first round. You're looking at a likely match. Just from here today, you're looking at a likely match with the Milwaukee Bucks or the Sixers, which I will point out, they've played Milwaukee very well this year. If you've lived through enough regular seasons, though, you know there have been instances where a team will really just dog another team in the regular season, and you still know they're not talented enough or expected to beat them in the playoffs. I kind of feel like that's the situation with the Pacers and Bucks. Yeah, they've had success there. Get to a playoff series, I would still take Milwaukee. It's just something I've lived through before. I've seen contending teams swept in the regular season by other competitive teams in the conference that they meet in the playoffs, and it goes how you expect. So what I would say is Haliburton comes back, you have Siakam. I kind of think Indy's going to end up finishing more in the 5 or 4 range. They are currently only a game out of 4th. There's a real chance here if things work itself out, they could be a top 4 team. Now you're looking at them potentially making it into the 2nd round. Not that it was impossible before, I just think it's likelier now. You get a 4 seed, now you're looking at playing, well, hell, you could still end up playing Miami in that instance. Some of your options though are Miami, Cleveland, Indy, New York, hell, Orlando. It's just all really tight right now. This is part of what's making this NBA season so incredible. Nothing guaranteed regardless. I would just say, in my mind, I would go best case scenario, 2nd round out. I still don't see them being one of the conference finals teams this year. Although, once again, the way the East is right now, how competitive the records are, how close everything is, not impossible. For Toronto, this is a team sitting at the 12th seed. They are not out of the play-in. They're only a game and a half from 10th. You got a pretty good haul here. At the end, you're gonna say OG Anunoby and Pascal Siakam were turned into Emmanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett, Bruce Brown, Jordan Roy, Kira Lewis, 3 first-round picks and a 2nd-round pick. How strong those picks will actually be, don't think you're gonna be netting anything crazy out of that. However, there's just a couple of things there that could be used in trades later, A. And B, if they do end up using the picks, you never really know what you're gonna get out of the first round. A lot of good players have come outside of the top 10 or even later in the first round, so I wouldn't write them off. And also you've also got to look at it through the lens of guys you weren't going anywhere with and guys who were going to lose. And so when you put that up against just nothing, and given how long they waited, I like what they've done. They at least have a shot to be a play-in team right now, and they can officially begin to choose a direction for themselves at long last. This is all I really have to say about this trade. I don't think it's groundbreaking. I believe it is a step in the right direction for both franchises, a show of good faith from the Pacers front office. The Eastern Conference right now is in a spot, if you're looking at it for the future, to me it's in a very turbulent spot. The Celtics are very good, obviously. A lot of their future depends on what happens in this postseason. You got the Tatum contract coming up. Who knows what the supporting cast will be like going years into the future. Milwaukee, good record. I think if you've watched them play, you see they don't have a death grip on anything by any means. None of these teams are unbeatable is kind of what I'm saying. So you're a team like Indiana with a young star and a chance to move up and a chance to really break through. You can do it in this conference. Miami, defending champions. They're in the middle of the conference at the moment. Jimmy Butler, 33, 34 years old. Good team, no doubt. And yet they've got their own set of questions to work through as time continues to pass. I believe this is a good move that set them up for the future in Indy. And this season is simply a benchmark. How far can it go? And then tool from there. Let me know in the comment section what you think about the trade for both sides. Hit the like button and comment if you enjoyed. And hit the bell next to my name if you want notifications every time a new video drops. Appreciate you watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.